Welcome to the very first apartment complex my brother bought, and I helped manage it till about 2009, 2010. It's located in a very small town outside Columbus, Ohio, just like most of my places. There's quite a mix of apartment complexes and historic buildings. There's a gorgeous old bank in town right next to my brother's apartment complex, and this is the disaster I walked into the other day. So this is my very terrible version of the popular unboxing video, and I want to break down the costs that my poor brother's going to have to pay to fix this disaster that he has on his hands. We purchased this apartment complex back in December 2007 for $68,000. He only put $5,000 in it to fix up, and it brings in about $22,000 a year gross revenue. He actually lives in here, so it's a glorified house hack. $10,000 in expenses, $14.4K in mortgage. He loses $2,400 to live here, but he gets free housing expenses. The market value of this property currently is around $125,000, and I asked him here recently to tell me how much he owed on the mortgage, and it was about $25,000. So he's got maybe $100,000 in equity if the property is in good shape, which you'll see in a minute. It's not. But once that mortgage is paid off, he'll cash flow about $10,000 a year after a glorious 14-ish years. He should pay it off this year. 14 years of losing money every single month. So here we go. And to prove that I am a twin, I made him stand there with the camera on ultra wide angle so you can see that I am a twin and we do exist. There are two of us. I don't know how many comments I've had saying that it can't be true, but there you go. Under the best circumstances in this rental house of his that is notoriously clean, and it's a gorgeous one bed, or I guess it's a 2-bed, 1-bath. And if you'll notice, other than the fact it is unbelievably filthy, it's missing a floor. And that's because they had 2, 3, or 4 dogs. They're not exactly sure. Part of here in the frame you can see bare plywood, and the other part is good laminate flooring my brother himself installed about 3, maybe 4 years ago when this tenant first moved in. They're personal friends of my brother and his wife, and that's what led to their poor choice of not regularly doing property inspections. They did a property inspection 6 months prior to this video. They stopped paying 3 months, maybe 4 months ago. If you'll notice, all the doggy biscuits everywhere, all over the floor. Right here where the flashlight's on is where I took my thumbnail picture. A lot of people accuse me of saying, Brandon, you really set these thumbnails up with fake stuff. And at this point in the video, I realized this is where I want to take my thumbnail, right there. So you'll see exactly how much posing I do for these thumbnails, or whether they come organically. That's the nice term that I'll use. Here's the bedroom. I don't know why they have stacks of air conditioners in here. You notice that is one of those really expensive infrared heaters that costs $150 on a infomercial. If you are playing the Investment Joy Bingo game, I froze it here. So should it be necessary, there's Bang, Monster, a PBR, and a Budweiser in that pile. Just in case you are playing along our bingo game, you can mark those off of your list. There you go. Poor Bang. So, sleeping on the floor, on a little bed with a fan on you, which I guess I can't complain too much, because I don't know how many times I've recently slept on the floor because my kids have taken over the bed in the middle of the night, and I did not wish to share a bed with 5 other human beings at that time. Here is the second bedroom. It was not pink when he rented it out, but the tenants made their choice to paint it pink. And here we end up with one of our other assets in the thumbnail, a Ruger American rifle. Sadly, there were no firearms on the premises. That way I could maybe liquidate them and help my brother recoup some of the price. There's a second gun. Interestingly enough, no rent was received, but you will see there's about $600 worth of guns already seen in the video. I don't know what it is, but having guns and not paying rent, life choices, everybody. There you go. Of course, I don't mean to disparage any firearm owners out there, because I know there was at one point in, I want to say 2011, shortly after the birth of my daughter and the collapse of my website business, that I had to sell off several of my firearms to pay the mortgage on our house. But had it have ever come to us losing that house, which would have been my third eviction over the course of my life, I can guarantee you I would have never in a million years left a house in this level of disrepair and damage. Once again, life choices. I don't mean to disparage anybody, but I do want you guys to understand why rent is so high sometimes. We'll do a financial breakdown of that later. They did leave a wonderful note from my brother explaining why they did not pay the rent. They said there's not enough hot water, the toilet flappers broke, there's mice everywhere, which shocks the heck out of me that there would be mice in this kind of environment with food strewn about the house, drinks strewn about the house, and that kind of problem. And the refrigerator doesn't work, which is interesting, as my brother runs the appliance store, so he has usually 20 or 30 refrigerators at any given time. So if you guys want justification from the renter side of why they chose not to pay the rent, they have stated to my brother at least that played into the problems or their desire not to pay the rent. You be the judge whether this kind of condition is self-inflicted or it's solely of the landlord's situation, the landlord's choosing. In the state of Ohio, interesting, there's my monster. Interesting enough, in the state of Ohio, if your landlord does not keep care of the property or neglects the rental, you can withhold rent, but your rent has to be paid on time. And I asked a judge in the county if any tenant has ever withheld rent from a landlord while being current due to condition. They said they are not aware of a single case within the county. There were quite a few laundromat tokens here, which is really interesting because that's about 25 to 30 minutes away from my laundromat that I shoot the videos in. Here is even more mouse droppings all over the counter. My brother and his wife told me that the unit they live in has mice in it quite often, and they were very hard-pressed to track down the source of the mice problem. Of course, once they got in here, they'd figured out exactly where the mice were coming from. As a side note, the tenants in this unit multiple times refused access to my brother and his wife to do a follow-up inspection after their inspection 6 months ago. My brother and his wife felt there was something shady going on, which obviously they were correct, but the tenants refused entry, and my brother and his wife didn't want to get access to the property because they had 3, maybe 4 large dogs in here, and they didn't feel comfortable. My poor brother stepped on that one too. My brother and his wife didn't feel comfortable going in this place without the tenants who would be there to restrain the dogs. That's kind of a problem. If you remember my meth house video probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, I kind of had the same situation with regards to not wanting to access a property without the tenant being in there due to the large dog situation. Nothing against the dogs. They didn't do all this. Another problem they had was they refused access to my brother for the water system. The toilet had been running for about 6 months, probably a gallon a minute. So I did the quick math on it at the request of my brother, and it's almost 11,000 gallons of water that was wasted in this municipality. And if you can tell, the bathroom is essentially trashed. He wanted me to do a cost breakdown of what I thought as a professional investor / landlord / YouTuber / real estate guy of how much it would cost to fix this place up. I think he's going to do some of the work himself, but we'll see. He's developed a knack recently for doing some of the work. So, number one, he has to have it cleaned. And shockingly enough, I think he could get it done for maybe $250 to $350. I will use the lower bound on these. He needs to replace all the laminate flooring. He'll have to put new in. I would probably go with just laminate, which would be $200, depending on the condition of the subfloor. He needs new carpet in the bedroom, but more than anything, all the floors in this building or this structure need to be sealed, mostly from the urine and the dog feces. That can be a very huge issue, but sealing those floors is relatively inexpensive, although it is time consuming, definitely. Then, of course, it needs new appliances. These are so far beyond salvageability, it's not even funny. So that's $350, but he'll get those for free out of his used appliance collection. And then the bathroom just needs completely redone. It isn't just filthy, but it's a disaster. It needs replaced. So the total amount for this, I figure between lost rents and all of the repairs that need to be done, is about $3,700. Before I actually sat down and tried to itemize things, I was in between $3,000 and $4,000. And the takeaway that I want the average person, because I realize that not everybody watches my videos and cares about real estate or real estate investing or rentals, is that ultimately this cost is passed on to the next tenant or the tenants that are in other units, because that money has to be recaptured. Some people you talk to use a 1% recapture rule, other people use 1.5. So depending on which one of these numbers you want to use, the cost of rent's going to have to go up between $37 and $55.50. And unfortunately, that cost is borne by the new tenant, not the owner of the property, because like I said, my brother loses about $200 a month just to keep this place. Now, after 13 or 14 years, he'll finally see a profit, but to remain profitable and keep the lights on, he has to recoup that money, which is paid for by the tenant, which makes this terrible for everybody involved. And unfortunately, that's just how it is. This is Brandon with Investment Joy. I truly appreciate every single one of you who have watched this. I would love it if you would get on Discord and participate in investment conversations with me and everybody else. Thanks for watching.